All right, hello everybody. I am Erica Marx, and I am here today with Linda and with Cassandra. And we're doing another one of these experimental coaching plus art sessions. Cassandra is our client, and she's bringing whatever it is, she's bringing this topic that she really wants to have some new insight or clarity around or something, some kind of breakthrough around. And I'm going to be asking her questions as a coach. And Linda is going to be painting so that we have another touch point for our intuition and to see what unfolds. So Linda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Linda Hortobagyi. I'm currently living in London, UK. I'm an intuitive artist and I paint different types of emotions, and I'm really excited to be here and join as a guest artist, the conversation.
This is so exciting. And I just met Linda and she's jumping in. So, all right, so just to give a quick overview of the process of coaching. So Cassandra will talk to us about what she's brought to the table here. She gave me a little heads up about something about patterns of overwhelm and procrastination. But just to give you a visual idea of the coaching process. So this is probably what Cassandra imagines that her process is, right? Here she is, this wonderful, positive, inspiring person with great intentions, and here's her goal, and it's just like a nice straight line between what she imagines and what's going to happen. And of course, we are all that person. We have all done that. And what I find is that it often looks like more like this, right? I don't think you've seen diagrams before, Cassandra.
No.
So here you are, same you with all the positive intentions. And then you set off in the world and then I don't know, something happened. And then somehow you're over here procrastinating or feeling guilty or overwhelmed, or you're scrolling Facebook, or maybe you accomplish it, but it's it's 20% of what you imagined that you could do. And you just have a very understandable feeling of this is not the feeling I want. This is not the achievement I want. And the issue is just that you have blind spots, right? And some of these blind spots are magnetic and things get wrapped around them. Or maybe some of these good intentions, two of them got tangled up with each other and end up having this side effect. So that's what we sort out in coaching. We kind of shine the light on where's the tangle, and help people see what they aren't able to see themselves. So then with the coaching process, it's more like this. So here you are, and then there's a little tangle, but we address it right away, and we look at it and we get untangled, and there you are off on your way again. And it's a series of untangling. It's an unpredictable path, but gets you more to your goals more effectively. You don't end up in procrastination corner. So with that said, let's see, to give you a framework, we'll be all out of here by the top of the hour because Cassandra has to go back to something she's up to. And so we'll do some coaching for 30, 40 minutes. We'll see what happens. And then we'll talk about it if there's some time at the end. So Linda, which I did say, you introduced yourself. Cassandra, did you want to say anything more to say hello? I'll put the video back on you.
I'm just excited to be here. That's it.
Okay, great. I only can have a couple things. Oh, my husband's telling me that there's no audio. Well, that's not helpful. I don't know. So this is recorded, and if there's no audio, my wonderful friends who are watching this live, we will repost the video. So, Cassandra, lay it on us. What is going on?
Okay, so I wanted to talk about time management because I'm noticing a pattern in my day-to-day life where I have an intention of something that I want to complete, but whenever I approach that project or whatever it is that is a goal of mine, I get super excited about it. That's always the first emotion, is super excitement.
Mm-hmm.
And then I usually charge into it before I really look at what is entailed in that project.
Okay.
And then once I'm in the thick of it, I'm looking at everything that actually needs to be done for me to get to my goal. And I'm usually have taken on too much because of my excitement, like eating with my eyes instead of with my stomach, or or being responsible about what I'm supposed to be digesting in terms of how much work this project needs. And that's where procrastination has an opportunity to begin, because I'm overwhelmed by all of the tasks at hand. And in that overwhelm with the excitement, the only thing that really gets me through to the end goal is pressure and stress, and essentially doing said goal for somebody else rather than doing it for myself. So I find that my goals in life, where I'm like, oh, I've got to show up for work and do X, Y, and Z, I'm able to do that because there's an outstanding pressure of somebody saying, I need this by this time, and you have to show up for me. But when it comes to my own goals, there's no pressure other than the pressure that I would provide for myself. So it's very easy for me to procrastinate on it, because it's like, this is important, but it's not a pressure point. So I continue to procrastinate on it. And then from that space, I feel guilt and shame because I'm neglecting the thing that I say I value. I'm not making any headway on that project because I'm putting my energy into doing things for other people rather than for doing for myself. And the only way that I even break the pattern is usually if the event or the goal that is for me, if there's a date on that, because I'm an opera singer. So if there's a date on it, I'm like, I have to learn this by this date, but it's filled with so much stress and so much frustration that I find that my work is not at the level that I know I'm capable of doing. So the whole process becomes an uncomfortable one.
Wow. Yes. But that sounds like you just described that whole diagram as I was like mapping it out.
Yep.
Hearing you, so maybe I can do it in the diagram. I don't know if I can watch the video and this at the same time, but like, here you are, excited. You said you leap into something really excited, maybe leap without actually seeing how much is involved in it. And you leap into it, and then it turns out to be way more than you thought, and you get overwhelmed. And then in that overwhelm comes your responses to procrastination, and then the procrastination leads to shame and guilt because of because you're not in that original motion. And the only way you've known to get through it is that, like, if there is like external pressure from the outside, like you can shove yourself through the overwhelm and get to the other side. But when it comes to your own projects that are important to you, you don't have that external push to force you through it. So then you end up in that procrastinating guilt and shame cycle around here.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Does that sound like what you are experiencing?
Absolutely.
So as I say it back to you, like what part of that, okay, well, I just want to hear, like, as I say it back to you, what part of that process do you feel like has the most, is the biggest obstacle for you to overcome?
It's the overwhelm, because once it hits me that I am overwhelmed, I'm like, wow, this is going to require so much more than I thought it did. I always say, okay, I'm going to take a breather from this. I'm going to step away so that when I come back to it, I can come with fresh eyes or a fresh perspective. But that doesn't always happen. I'll step away to kind of catch my breath, and then I never recommit to the goal at hand. There's an opportunity for something else to take my attention, and it usually does.
Sure. I mean, why would you want to come back to, like, you just exited this giant mess that you and it felt, and you exited it because you were feeling like this is too much. And then, it makes sense that you wouldn't, that it wouldn't feel attractive to go back to it.
Right.
So I'm wondering, just to understand, like, where do we want to be by the end of this conversation in like half an hour or so? Like, how would you like to exit this conversation? Thinking, feeling clear about, what do you want as a goal?
The goal I desire is that when I feel overwhelmed, that I can begin to implement a new question or a grounding question to refocus myself. That way it brings some clarity, or it focuses me on what I actually wish to attain, because my current question that I ask myself when I'm overwhelmed is, I need to take a breath. I should take a breather. And that's my immediate go-to. And I follow that pattern, but I'm very aware that that
Right.
pattern doesn't work. So if there's something I can stick into that space that would re-engage me, whether that's, oh, well, you know what, maybe I should do an action plan, or maybe this is the time
Right.
to do this thing that always helps
Right.
me. That, yeah.
Oh, that totally makes sense. So you're saying, it's interesting. You said you want a question to ask yourself, and the question you said, the question I ask myself is like, I need to take a breather, which actually is not a question.
Not a question. It's totally like, I'm running away from this. This is too much for me.
I'm currently running away from this. So it makes sense, because like in this sequence, you're like, everything's great when I go into it. Then I hit the weight of the, all that's involved. And then your emotional reaction is overwhelm. So you're wanting to like kind of plug something else in to that spot. So I'm wondering if what in that sort of sequence that happens, what would be other points in there that could affect the trajectory of how it goes for you?
What are the other points in the issue that could affect
like in
my
the
trajectory?
pattern? In the pattern.
I think the first point is the excitement, because excitement is a very attractive emotion for me. It's something, it's kind of my immediate go-to. It's the most familiar emotion I experience most of the time. And it's very fueling. It fuels me. It's like, oh, I can do anything, or I'm really into this person, or I'm really into this experience.
Exactly.
So I just go rushing in before I look at it and go, well, is this actually for me? But by the time I've experienced excitement, I'm already into whatever the thing is. So if it's a project, if it's a relationship, if it's a whatever, I'm in it.
Yep, it makes sense. I have more questions about that. I'm curious, like, what would it be like being you if that whole middle part was just removed and you had that excitement that went in, and it removed the overwhelm and that whole knot in the middle? What would that be like for you?
That would be clarifying, because then I wouldn't feel like I'm tripping over myself. It would feel, I feel like I could think clearly and not need to stop and disconnect in order to reconnect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if that piece was just out of your process, you would have access to thinking clearly at the entire time.
Right.
Right? What else?
I would trust myself completely, instead of second guessing my choices of, whoa, I just took on too much, or I've eaten too much of this idea. Now I'm stuffed. It would be, I would be more mindful and trusting my choices as I go forward. So the overwhelm wouldn't even have an opportunity to start.
What are you realizing as you're saying that?
I'm realizing that I've valued excitement as an emotion that where like I follow it and go, oh, this is the right emotion because I'm excited, or I'm going in the right direction in my life because I'm excited about this project. But I'm realizing that maybe excitement isn't the emotion I should be following all the time. So
what let's check in. Let's play our game of checking in with the painting, with the artist.
I know this is what's going on really.
So if you look at that, what do you see in what she's created so far?
What I loved about the beginning of it was that there was yellow in there. It was like this brightness, which is what excitement kind of looks like to me. That's usually bright yellow. And so then to see, she started using greens, which I thought, oh, that's so great. That's like, I don't know, green to me means something's growing, something's beginning. But then to see the other conflicting things, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm totally blocking my light, my initial juice for life, which would be the yellow, because I've got all of these other layers on top of it that are swirling about, and I'm nowhere near what I actually desire to be doing.
Yeah.
So,
And now when you layer these thoughts that you just had about the relationship to excitement, how does that change how you see that?
that's a very good question. It makes me realize that I trust my initial feeling, but I don't trust myself in the action steps. That
Hmm.
the idea of it is great, but the execution is where I feel I stumble, because now there's doubt. Doubt is in that mix of, am I going to be able to complete this project, or am I going to be able to show up in this relationship, or can I actually do what I set out to do? And that actually holds me back from living the life that I want to be living. So,
Okay. So do you trust in this process, you do trust that initial kind of burst of excitement, that intuition that says like, yes, there's something here for me in whatever it is that you're looking at.
mhm,
But then the lack of trust in yourself comes in at the all the details of the execution stage.
right.
And what's the story you make up about yourself in that part?
The story that I make up is that I don't want anybody to see that I don't trust myself in the action steps, or I want it to look a certain way. I want it to feel and look
Mm,
perfect. And so when it's messy, it has me step out, because it's no longer in alignment with what I thought it could be. And somebody could see that, oh, she doesn't have it all together.
mm,
Um, she's actually not as smart as she said we think she is. Like, what, there's an opportunity for people to have judgment around my initial um my initial engagement with said project or
mhm.
relationship, and then when they
Okay.
experience me, it's a different experience. So,
Okay. Um, so you don't want anybody to see that you're not perfect, that it gets
right,
messy. So
right.
so in your mind, it's like that pure yellow excitement that is like that you want to be able to ride that like perfect, clean yellow excitement all the way through the entire project. And if it gets messy, or if it gets like there's doubt or there's anything that comes in there, then, you know, then you're subject to everybody's judgments and like, it stops you.
Right. It's true. It's like, why bother engage? Because then it gives people an opportunity to have an opinion, and I don't want them to change their opinion of my initial excitement. So
Mm.
I just won't engage, period, which
Okay.
doesn't help, because then nothing gets done.
Yes, you have designed a perfect system. Let's check in. I see some more things happening on this canvas. What do you notice?
I notice more yellow, which makes me feel happy, like, oh, it's in there somewhere. But again, it just feels like confusion, and then like I come back to what my purpose is, but it's still messy. So I want it to be clean and thorough, and that there be ease of execution,
Mm.
rather than what can sometimes feel as like a chaotic experience of my emotions swirling all over the place.
So, what do you make it mean about yourself if it's chaotic and emotional and messy in the execution part?
I make it mean that I'm not balanced from the inside out.
Mm. So,
So
what's important about being balanced from the inside out?
that I trust myself enough to execute on what I say I want to execute on or commit to. So if I trust myself, then I know that I have enough time to do said project or be in said relationship or commit to said whatever. But
So I just help me understand, Cassandra, because it sounds like you've said the way you do things is you get a hit of excitement and you don't actually look into the details very much to see what will this project entail. You just like, whew, here we go, excitement. And then when you encounter all the details and it's a big project, then somehow that means that you don't, that you're failing, you don't trust yourself, but like you literally just did something without looking into the details, and then you found the details, and then somehow that means like, oh well, you should trust, you know, like why do you make that? Why do you?
So I trust myself, but I don't trust myself.
You trust yourself. It's like saying like, I trust myself to like, I trust myself, this is a great idea. And then when the great idea involves jumping in a swimming pool, and then you jump in a swimming pool, then you're like, oh, I'm wet. Like, that means like, I can't trust myself because I wasn't wet when I started.
That's about right. It makes no sense to hear you say it out like that. But that's kind of what I go through, especially with music, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to start to learn this new song. And it's really beautiful, so I'm excited to learn it. And then I'll say maybe the first couple words wrong, or maybe I won't get the rhythm right. And then I go, oh, well, I don't know anything about this, so let me just stop. Like, I'm overwhelmed, so let me stop. When I'm clearly fine, it's just the process of growth, but the feeling will be so overwhelming. Of that, maybe initial failures or breakdowns, or like, oh, this isn't coming as easily as I thought it was, that I then step back to go, well, let me just get a breather, or maybe it'll be okay when I come back to it.
But I don't
always come back.
Yeah, of course. So what could bring some more ease to this process?
I'm not quite sure what would bring ease. I've analysis paralysis myself, I've created an analysis paralysis experience out of this, where I will think I need more knowledge, so I'll go seek out a book on how to, say, master my schedule, or I will look for things that are wrong with me as to why I can't complete the project, and put my energy into that instead of just putting my energy into the project.
Right. Yes. That does not sound like, once you're in it, you've got this layer of meaning, something about not trusting yourself, and you make it mean that, like, maybe explain a little bit more. I realize there's things you do in that space, but they don't really make ease. They're like things you can do. But what happens in that? I think the world recognizes this process so much.
Right.
So when things get messy, and there's emotions that you didn't predict, and there's actions that you didn't predict, like what could bring some ease in working with those?
I believe if I could tap into forgiveness and releasing expectation, because I think where I tell myself I fail is that I expect myself to be farther along on the journey of maybe attaining the said goal, or experiencing myself in a relationship in a certain way. If it doesn't turn out that way, I have the tendency to go to doubt, then beat up, and then back to, oh, there's something wrong with me. I need to sit back and think and digest.
Yes.
When really nothing is really wrong. It's just, if I could forgive myself in those moments, to say, this is just the process. and enjoy the process as it comes and continue to show up for myself anyway.
Yeah.
That I feel doubt. It's okay to feel doubt, but it's when the doubt begins to affect your actions, that's when it can grow and manifest into procrastination.
Tell me more about that relationship between forgiveness and doubt.
Well, doubt is such a strong emotion for me because it asks the question: do you really believe that you can complete this task that you set out to do? Or do you really believe you have what it takes to show up in this relationship, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and because doubt is such a strong emotion,
Mm-hmm.
that to then choose forgiveness, it's easy to forgive myself for the things I've done in my past that maybe didn't turn out so good. But
Mm-hmm.
when I'm in the moment of something that's triggering, accessing forgiveness takes a little bit longer
Mm-hmm.
because I'm in it. So the more dominant emotion is doubt, which is I don't think I can do this. I'm freaking out. I need something to ground me, rather than forgiving myself to say, well, the self-talk of you're fine, this is the process, just kind of go with it. You don't to
Mm.
because it can be exhausting to have to constantly reassure myself.
Right. Right. Well, yes, because you're making it wrong. It's like fundamentally wrong that you have to learn. It sounds like it's
Right.
fundamentally wrong that there's a process involved. So then if like that makes sense that you're saying, sure, I can bring up forgiveness, but like it's to go against this huge, doubt and all this judgment. So what if the process could be the process?
If the process could be the process, that would mean I would need to let go of the way it looks in the reality compared to the way I think it should look in my head.
Oh, okay. Yep. So there's that, what you think
Yeah.
it should look like in your head and what it looks like in
What it
reality,
is. Yeah.
and the difference
Yeah.
between those two.
Mhm.
I want to ask you more about that, but let's look what's happening to your painting.
I
Let's chat.
know. It's just turning into this crazy wild thing. It's amazing.
Yeah. So what are you seeing? Like what are you seeing unfolding here?
um, it looks like fire.
Hmm.
And then it looked like this amazing headdress that maybe a Native American would wear or an
Mm.
African woman would wear. So that feels powerful. And the idea that even though doubt is mixed in there, what's really happening is a powerful transformation of self,
Mm.
is what I'm taking away from that painting. And so transformation, like it's so easy to say in my mind that change can be, that when change occurs that it's going to be uncomfortable, there's growing pains and blah blah blah. But to actually go through that feeling of change, to actually go
Mm.
through the feeling of transforming yourself by showing up for my work every day, showing up for these goals and projects that I say I want to be in, showing up for the relationships that I want to be in without doubting myself. um, to have a visual reminder of, in the doubt there's still power here because I'm still
Mm.
showing up, is a good visual to anchor in, I think, as I continue forward.
So recognizing that there's power in showing up and there's power in just being with the doubt, like how the doubt is part of the process. I may not have quite
Yes.
got all of that.
Yeah.
And or yeah, go ahead.
Oh, just the fact that you said doubt is part of the process, because in my mind I'm like, no, doubt shouldn't be there. I should be so secure in whatever I want to build that I shouldn't doubt myself, period.
Mm.
But to hear you say it's a part of the process, it makes re-grounds me in the fact that this is a journey, and so
Mm.
things are not perfect at the beginning of the journey. And it reiterates the part of you that said that point when you said I'm almost afraid to allow myself to learn, just to be the beginner, and then to grow into mastery of whatever task is before me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a grounding feeling.
What would you need to let go of to trust the journey?
Expectation.
Okay. And what does
If
that
I
mean?
Expectation to me means, which is, I guess, a little hard. It's like the goal that you want to get to. You go, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I want to attain this, or
Mm-hmm.
release this much money by this time, or save this much, or have this, whatever. And so you have a desired end goal.
Mm.
But maybe once you set the goal to just, it's still there. Like, oh, I want to
Mm-hmm.
go that way, but it doesn't have to be hanging over me like a like a
Yeah.
a demand. It can be, you can aim toward the direction you want to go, but then the journey is still going to be the journey, and
Yeah.
allow yourself to experience that fully.
So how can you keep the goal and let go of the expectation?
How can I keep the goal and let go of the expectation? Maybe it's just being present to what is, and talking myself down from the expectation. Um, for instance, if I say I want to want to speak Italian fluently by this date,
Mm-hmm.
it's great to have that goal, but instead of beating myself up for struggling with pronouncing words, or studying my words, or doing my
Mm-hmm.
homework, it's forgiving myself through the process of, like, well, this is a part of it today. Today it feels like this, but I showed up. The most valuable thing is that I showed up. And just be okay with wherever I'm at that time.
So the difference between the goal and the expectation is, like, you could set the goal, like that can be exciting, right? I'm going to learn Italian to this proficiency by this time.
Mm-hmm.
And so but the difference between expectation is about, okay, that's the goal. It's like the orientation landmark that you're aiming for. And then but then how it looks like and what happens along the way and how quickly it goes, like all of that is in the world of expectation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to say anything different than what you're saying, but I'm kind of imagining
Yeah, no, that's
that
about right.
what distinguishes the goal and the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And what about your original excitement? Is that connected to goal or expectation or something else?
I believe excitement is connected to the expectation rather than to the goal.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
because it's like, oh, I could do that, yeah, and then when it doesn't happen, it's like, oh,
Oh,
damn.
interesting. So the excitement is, well, no wonder, right? Because if the excitement is immediately connected to expectation,
Mm.
then, then there goes the excitement, right?
Right, because then reality sets in. It's like, oh, sure, you want to speak Italian fluently, but you can only speak at the second grade level. So no wonder you're feeling disappointed. But
Interesting. So what would be connected to the goal?
emotion wise, what would be connected to the goal?
I don't know, like you
Or
set off to do things. I'm wondering if there might be, you didn't quite use these words, but when you said something about trusting yourself in the initial part. And I'm wondering,
Mhm.
what are you trusting in that initial part that, orients you towards your
I
goal?
tr- I trust myself to be enough to tackle this mountain that I have to climb to get to my goal. Like, I know I can do this. I feel that I have the energy and the experience and the desire to do this goal. Um, but then I ask myself, I'm like, for instance, perfect example, I'll say I want to lose 10 pounds. And so I go, okay, in order to do that, I'm going to get this gym membership, or I'm going to buy this exercise equipment, and I'm going to work out 5 days this week. And so I'll make it through the first couple days.
Right.
But then the third day, it's like, oh, but I'm failing at it, and I didn't work out as hard as I did the day before. And so then I doubt my ability to even show up. Then I don't show up. So
what's the yeah, of course. I mean, if you're like, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do it this way, and it's going to look like this, and I'm going to look perfect, and I'm going to do it every day, and like, this is how it's going to go.
Right. And it doesn't go that way.
It doesn't go that way. Then you're like, okay, like total failure, I'm out of here. What, whatever, cue the entire process.
Right.
So what would it be like, even if you took that example, like, I'm going to lose weight or whatever, what would it be like to frame that in the world of goal, independent of expectation?
I guess the goal would have to look different then. So it wouldn't be about losing 10 pounds. It would be about, I want to feel good when I wear this outfit. I want to feel confident and sexy and slim and fit when I go out every day. That's not necessarily attached to an outcome, a result. It's attached to a feeling that I want to have. So it feels, so then I can capitalize on that feeling every day of, I want to feel fit. Well, I feel fitter after I'm done working out. So then wouldn't that mean I've attained the goal essentially a little bit every day, rather than somewhere off in the future and I'm not there now? So
okay, let me help you out, I think, a little bit with this, right? Okay. Because now you're giving, what example do you want to take on to do this?
Let's take on weight loss. Yeah, okay. Just talking about it.
Okay. So say you just keep it as weight loss. Like, what do you imagine? What do you imagine you're going to think and feel? If you we don't know how it happens, but it happens and you lose the weight you want to lose, how are you going to feel?
I'll feel incredible, because then I'll know that I can actually complete something I set my mind to.
Okay. And how does that feel?
It feels amazing.
Amazing.
Now, I trust myself to do what I said I was going to do.
Yes. So there's a sense of trust and confidence, and you feel amazing and you feel incredible. And so you living in that energy of that feeling, how are you being in the world?
I'm being engaging. I'm bright. I'm excited. I have more consistent excitement to give every day because I'm showing up for myself in a way that feels satisfying, and I'm not failing myself. I'm actually building on the trust I have for myself to show up every day saying that I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. So that feels great.
Okay. So you are engaged. You're showing up every day. You're building on trust that you have for yourself. You are, and you're confident and you're engaged. So, and can you connect to those feelings, that whole like world of being? Mm-hmm. And which of any of those like really stand out that have the strongest resonance for you?
That I trust myself enough.
So you're being, and if you put that in the language of being, like you're being trustworthy.
Trusting, or yeah. I guess it's an action step that it's trusting. It's currently happening right now, that I trust myself so much. See, you can see my results on my body. You can tell that I've been eating well, and you can see the results without my needing to say it. That's how much I have showed up for myself every day. I haven't failed myself.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answers the question though, because I'm like, I'm still feeling like I'm spinning in it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it totally has that feeling. Because it's a proving yourself thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not really in the realm of the process or in the realm of being it every day. It's in the
Mm,
realm of proving to other people that you're that kind of person, as opposed to being that kind of
being that,
person every day for yourself, independent of what it looks like.
right.
So when I say that to you, what thoughts or feelings come up for you?
Um, I wonder why it's so important for me to look good in the eyes of others instead of feeling comfortable with myself.
Yeah. So what's important to you about looking good in the eyes of others instead of being important to yourself?
Um, because I want to put on a good show or a good front that I am who I say I am. So
And what would it give you if the whole world was like, "Yep, she's who she says she was, who she says she is." Like, let's say you succeed at this, and all of us
yeah,
are just like, "Oh my God, she's exactly who she says she is." Then what? What do you get?
satisfaction. Um, that I it would almost I'd almost feel like what comes up for me now is disbelief. Like that wouldn't really. Do you really think that's going to happen? But I almost can't imagine it having
Mhm.
attained it and people saying that because um, I feel so out of that. I feel so far away from that
Yeah,
ability right now.
right. So, I mean, given that the world will, you can't control what other people think about you, and the world is full of judgment. Everyone's got that going on.
Yeah.
What, um, I'm not going to ask a question right now because we haven't checked in with this amazing painting, and I know there's a lot of emotion going on for
Hmm.
exploring this. Um, when you look at that, what's unfolding on the screen, what shows up, what stands out to you?
It shows me that my process is a beautiful one. It doesn't have to be so heavy and concerned about what other people think. That the process is just the process, and it's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay um, to not always know what the right direction is because it's actually really a beautiful experience. So just enjoy the experience.
Hmm. And what would need to happen for you to believe that, to trust that?
Feel like a belief about myself would have to die for me to fully embrace being on a journey rather than focusing on the end goal.
Yeah. So let's
Um,
check in with that. There's a belief somewhere that you've been holding on to for a long time that might be ready to let go. What,
um,
and we're not saying we're letting it go. Let's just check in with it. What is
right.
that belief that just might be ready to let go?
That if people see me for my failures, they won't love me.
Yeah.
So,
So if people see truly who you are, the process, if they see times that you've failed, they won't love you.
right.
And how true is that?
It feels very true because it's kicking up emotion.
Yeah.
Um, because
Mm.
I've done so much work to make sure that I can clean up the things and aspects of myself that I haven't always been proud of.
Yeah.
So to continue to have aspects that are hard and difficult, um, I don't want anybody to see that process, but but then that means I don't get to do relationship. I don't get to engage with the projects that I love,
Right.
because then failure doesn't become an option.
Yeah. Yeah. What's different now in your life than whenever it was that you created that belief?
Everything. Um, the way I show up for my day is completely different than it's ever been in my life. I'm more grounded and responsible than I think I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that there's a lot at stake, but it means that I'm still in the building stage, and I'm hesitant to let people in on the fact that I'm building,
Mm.
because I just want them to see the finished product of like, see, it's all good now. Now you can love me, or now you can trust
Mhm.
me, or now you can whatever, instead of, allowing people to love me through the failure. And
So what's the price that you've been paying for holding on to that belief and not letting people in because you're not perfect yet?
I'm there's a loneliness there, because then my community can't expand and grow, because I'm not letting or allowing anybody to truly see me. So it just doesn't happen.
And what's the protection that this belief being there currently gives you?
It gives me a false sense of security
Mm.
that as long as I'm okay here in my little corner doing my little thing
Mm.
and nobody's paying attention, then I'm secure. There's no judgment. And if I fail, I'm the only one that knows I fail, and I'm okay with that. But for
Yeah.
other people to know that I fail, I don't know how I feel about that.
So what if we what if you still had a sense of security and you knew that people loved you and they got to see your process, your failures. If you knew that people could still have the capacity to love you, what would that change for you?
um, I would show up for my projects more without worrying about the process of failure.
Mhm.
Um, it could just I would be more open to allow things to just go forward as they're supposed to, instead of trying to hold it and go, no, 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 this isn't perfect yet. I'm not ready to
Yeah.
open this
So there'd be more
aspect.
openness.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what does it mean for someone to love you?
Oh, that's a great question. I believe it means that they accept me as I am.
Okay. So if love means that someone accepts you as you are, what else does that what does that mean to you?
And it means that I have the freedom to be myself, and that it's a safe space. There's emotional safety. Um, and that it's safe for me to grow and expand in whatever direction I want to go, because failure is okay. I'm okay in this space.
So it means that there's a safety that you have there's acceptance for who you are, there's freedom for you to grow, for you to even discover who you truly are, because there's that. Because the love means that there is full acceptance for who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is grounding, because then if I love the things that I'm committed to, and I accept myself even in my failure, then there would be no need to procrastinate, because the failure is just part of the process, and everything's okay,
Mm.
without needing to constantly reassure myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's see. What would be, I can ask more questions. We can look at the painting. What do you think would be helpful for you right now, Cassandra?
I'm wondering how to apply this awareness that I now have from coaching with you into my day to day, because it's wonderful to get the realization that, oh, all right, I've been really hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
How can I apply this into my everyday so that when I plan my schedule and say,
Yeah, great.
you know,
It's perfect. Exactly. So what's the connection between the insight and the awareness and how you work with yourself on a day-to-day basis?
the insight is that I am that I have been closed, but gently allowing myself to open. So to open myself up more to acceptance, self-acceptance, then I think
Mm-hmm.
other people will accept me regardless, because then I'll be comfortable with who I am. Accepting the process of failure, that, okay, I didn't understand this thing, or I didn't do as many squats as I said I was going to do, or whatever, but I just accept that this is where I'm at and I can try again. I get another opportunity to do it the next time.
So the connection between the insight and the awareness and the day-to-day is, it's really like the energy you bring into being with yourself in whatever part you're in. Like, it's Tuesday, it's squat day. And
Yeah.
and I am choosing to be here with myself, with acceptance and love and kindness, and here I am, and it's just Tuesday.
Exactly. That's all it is. It's not this big thing. And I think that kind of pulls in what you were asking for earlier, where it's like, how do you pull out of the goal, the expectation of the goal,
Mm-hmm.
and like where you are right now? What's landing for me is I truly get to accept that I'm right here right now. I'm still working to my goal. It doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
that I can do thousands of squats right now, but I can do 10, and be totally okay with the fact that I've done 10, and
Mm-hmm.
allow my playfulness to come in to, well, let's see if I can do 5 more. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
can't. And
Yeah,
have fun with the process more, instead of, it's not what you said it was going to be, so you
that's right.
failed.
Will you please not bring her to the gym? She does not sound fun.
She is not fun. No. Yeah, she's in charge, that girl. Unfortunately. But
So,
yeah.
so what difference would it make for you towards accomplishing your goals if you showed up for yourself with that kind of playfulness and kindness and acceptance and um, perspective on the process?
Um, it's a much softer, quieter feeling. There's less intensity around it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's less goal oriented, even though goals are valuable, so you know where you're going, but it brings it back into the process of being more important than the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so then the focus for me becomes about the work, because it's about enjoying the playfulness of the process of that work. So whether it's doing squats in the gym, or learning said music, or being in relationships with friends and family, or intimate relationships, it's like, well, this is just, I accept that this is where I'm at, and maybe I'm a little scared, or maybe I'm a little
Mm-hmm.
unsure, but I'm going to the direction that I'm going. Maybe not at 70 miles an hour, but I'm
Mhm.
getting there, you know. So
Maybe you'll stay in the car. You'll stay
yeah,
going, you know?
exactly.
Instead of doing a
Exactly.
rational thing like jumping out of a 70-mile-an-hour vehicle, like stop that
Exactly.
ride. But
Right.
oh my
Right.
gosh, my heart, when you were describing that, like a softer and quieter feeling, a gently being with yourself, like there's this peacefulness and this kindness and playfulness too in
Mhm.
you get to be you and you get to be with yourself in the
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And is this still you? I know you have a hard stop at the top of the hour, right? So in 5 minutes,
Yes.
is that right?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So um let's check in with you checking in with this painting that's happening.
Oh,
What's
okay.
resonating for you? What do you notice?
I love that it looks like a really wild jungle, like where the wild things are jungle. Because I see this beautiful, it almost looks like a skull to me, like an upside down skull, but it's not. But I see just
It's
green
upside down,
things.
Laura, Linda. It's kind of upside down to us in the Zoom window. I know it's right side up to you.
Oh,
Hold
Zoom.
on.
The big reveal where we
I
turn it
know,
right side
right?
up.
Exactly. Oh, wow.
Can
It
you
just,
hold it on the original? Put it back down on because then it'll be in the big window. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there it is. Okay. Um, I love that there's a heart at the center because
Mm.
that is authentically who I am as somebody who's very loving um, and accepting of other people. It's funny that what I've come to in this coaching is that I easily can accept other people, but I'm not accepting myself. And so for love to be at the center of that is reminding me to be accepting of my process just as and to bring just as much grace that I have for other people to myself. I love that it's colorful. I love that there's like this purple aspect, almost purple and gold happening at the very
Mm.
top, and that there's actually a face in there. Wait, oh wow, there's a face in there. Well, a couple of things. So that purple at the top is like, wow, that reminds me of chakras lining up. Like
Mm.
that's the color of enlightenment. It's the color of being attuned to who you really are and trusting your
Mm.
spirit that's guiding you. So I love the greens that are expanding around that. She kind of looks like this beautiful green goddess who's connected to way more than just the physical realm. And I appreciate that that's what's come out of this. I even like that little guy off to the side because it looks a little bit like a cat skull thing to me. just just wild and playful and but intense and bright and vibrant. I love the vibrancy of all this because that it just feels like me, but on this gorgeous canvas. I really appreciate how Linda you've seemed to capture my emotions in a physical way. So thank you so much. It's really, really beautiful. And I almost want to like hold it so I can hug it or something. It's really pretty.
Mm.
Thank you. This has been great.
Can I ask you one quick question at the end, Cassandra? What could get in the way of you? Like, what's I should ask you a different way. What's going to keep you connected to all that you've created for yourself today?
To accept, to truly remind myself to accept myself in the process. Seeing that picture and having it come out and hearing your questions reminded me deeply how much I haven't accepted my own experience. And it's so easy for me to give it to other people. If somebody cuts me off while I'm walking somewhere, or if somebody's rude, I don't even take it personally. I just go, they're just going through their
That's
process.
great. So you already have the skill set developed. You just need to turn it on yourself.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. Yeah.
Linda,
So,
did you want to say anything to Cassandra before she has to go?
oh, Linda, you're muted. Wait, unmute.
Unmute now.
Yeah.
There you go. Now I can hear you.
Thank you so much for it. Was such a pleasure to paint while you were discussing it. I could really feel how powerful you are and
Oh,
how you are having that process of opening up and and accepting who you are. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm so glad that it came through, and like you got the messages for you that was needed from the painting. And it was my pleasure. And I'm so glad that you like what I created and you could connect with it. It just means a lot to me as well. So
Gosh.
yeah. And this was an owl, by the way, that little thing.
Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute. It's great.
She's like, it's a cute skull.
Really, the thing about this was you interpret whatever you see your way, and it is the right way for you. However, for some reason I was kind of nudged to share with you that with the owl, when I was kind of working on the owl, there was that overthinking that you realize at one point, and how the owl changed colors over the time, because you can use that kind of brain, like the thoughts for guiding yourself in the way that makes you feel good. So it was very nice to see it changing colors and becoming very playful. So and sharing it with you.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yay. So, we're at the top of the hour. So I'm going to keep doing these on Wednesdays. And I made like a board here of clients, artists, topics, and dates. So I'm thinking next week, Linda, you're going to do it again, right? I think she said yes. She said yes. And we're going to do something about money. So, and I don't have a client on that Post-it note yet. So it's open. You can come back, Cassandra.
I'm like, can I come back?
You can come back. Let's talk about it afterwards. Yeah, okay, I know. It'll be good for everybody. All right. Yeah. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Cassandra, and keep in touch, okay?
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.